Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a reaction video or review, actually, sorry, to the Shy mid-season finale of season 6, episode 8, Who Shot You? This episode, for the most part, for me, is pretty nostalgic, mostly because of Kevin and Papa and Jake. Just their scenes a lot, and a little bit of Keisha with Kevin, but it was definitely really nostalgic. So in the beginning of the episode, we see Kevin basically, reminiscing. He's on, the train, just, staring out the window, just going through the motions. And, I feel like everything kind of came really fast for Kevin after graduation. It was just like, all right, I got the call, I'm going to LA, I'm moving. And it was just felt a little bit rushed to me. But nonetheless, I mean, we understand because after the episode had aired, the actor that plays Kevin, Alex, he made an Instagram post letting his fans and basically everybody know that it's his last episode and he will no longer be returning to the Shy. And it's so sad because I thought about it. I was like, oh my gosh, we had, he really is an OG of the show. And I think since season 1, the main focus had been centered around Ron and Kevin and Emmett and Brandon. And it just seemed like one after one, we've lost the main characters. So I'm kind of curious if there's going to be another season and if we're going to be losing Emmett next. Or what's going to happen with that if that does, transpire. Because, I think season 1 kind of was centered around mostly like Ronnie, but like also our introduction of like everybody else, because it just seemed like it was a snowball effect and kind of just a full circle for everybody. Like everybody was connected in some way, shape, or form. And then I think season 2 was kind of a little bit more about Kevin and the boys. Even though season 1 really was about him as well. And Brandon definitely by like season 3. Well, by season 3 we lost Brandon. So yeah, it was just like a whole full circle moment there. But yes, we start off the episode with, basically Kevin just kind of reminiscing, and then we quickly move into Emmett and Keisha being Emmett and Keisha as usual. Like, getting on everybody's nerves at this point, with the bickering, the arguing. They have makeup sex. Nah, we're gonna move past them because they've been getting on my nerve this whole season. So then we move on to Zay, Zay and Douda, and Nuck, and basically Douda and Zay are, kind of celebrating that Zay found a place to clean the money. Which was one of Douda's concerns. And then, obviously Nuck kind of walks in on it. And he's just looking like, what are y'all so happy for? And, why are we all celebrating? We just basically took out Pastor Stanley, thanks to Nuck, because Douda ordered him to. But, Douda was pissed off about that. Like, yeah, I told you to handle it, and that's not the way we should have really handled it, mostly you, because it kind of falls back on Douda, which Douda already, remembers that Rosalind said initially, which we have not seen much of her really this season at all. Whether it's her, Tracy, or Tiff, I have not really seen. Even Jada, like, you get them every now and then, and Tracy definitely. I wish we would have seen more of her this season so far, but with Ronnie and Jason, those times and stuff like that, especially with Ronnie's storyline, we did see more Tracy then. So, in the earlier seasons, we did see more of Jada too. So I don't know if they kind of took a seat back or they just wanted to focus on different characters more this season. But yeah, that was a little sidebar. But yeah, so Dudas pissed off at Nuck for the way he handled it, even though he gave the orders, and he's just mostly irritated because it is more heat on them. You know, Rosalind did mention the FBI because of the fact that Uncle Quincy, Uncle Q, he was an informant, and so, yeah, to sum it all up, Duda is basically under a scope, and he's still running, like, the big bad wolf, okay? Like, who cares? Which is ridiculous. I'm seeing a little bit of a power struggle, or just like a little bit of a power trip. Something going on between Nuck and Zay. It's like I think Nuck is realizing that Zay wants his spot, and will do anything to kind of have Duda on his side in a sense. So Nuck is just kind of side eyeing him. I think Duda's also kind of picking up on it. How Zay is kind of like he said earlier, wet behind the ears, a little bit too much of an ego, and you know Duda kind of puts him in line as well, like don't get above yourself, you know, because as much as he kind of reprimands Nuck, he is still his number two, so well his number one, and Zay would technically be like his number two. This is like I think the second time, if I'm not mistaken, that Duda has yelled at Nuck and scolded him like he's a kid. I think the first time was when there were the bag of guns in the trunk of the car, and he basically got pissed off because that was the same day that Rosalind informed him about Uncle Q being an informant in the FBI. And so I know he did yell at him and told him to get rid of it, and then that's when obviously that whole domino effect of it kind of being Nuck's responsibility to get rid of the guns, and then him pushing it off on Bakari, and now Bakari got rid of it and gave it to, Lene and Rashad, and then got it back on Lene, and then all that. Ugh. So, yeah, the decisions that are being made are just really dumb at this point by, like, everybody. We then get into Papa and Kenya. Papa, just to summarize it all up really, really quickly, he's still being mean to Kenya, which is really unfortunate because I know initially, which is so funny how they write things in like previews and trailers and stuff like that. All of us were just kind of like, well, for the most part, I'm just going to speak for all of us because shoot, we all were just like, something's up with Kenya, whether we thought the worst, like, oh, Zay, maybe her baby dad, or she could be working with Duda or whatever, like something stupid, I don't know. And then just to come find out that she has a son, it was just like, okay, alright, I get it. But now the fact that Papa's giving her the 3rd degree, I feel so bad because at first we were all just like, she seems so mysterious and like, who is this girl? And then now we're just like, aw, dang, Papa, like, chill out. Even Jake said it, which I'll get to eventually, but it's just like, it's sad because I feel like when Papa, when Pastor Stanley was still living, Papa was living for himself in a sense. Like, he did whatever he wanted to do. He, obviously heard Pastor Stanley, his advice, but he didn't really take heed to it necessarily. He was just like, I'm going to do my own thing. And, that's why they got into the whole argument of him choosing Kenya. But Papa tried to make it seem like Kenya is just such this bad person. But I'm like, you literally just stuck up for her 2-3 episodes ago, It was your way and not your dad's way, and that basically got you kicked out until your dad passed away. And then it was just like, now you're kind of living for your dad, and you're going off of what he wanted you to do more or less than living for yourself. And just kind of like, yeah, you can keep his guidance in mind, but I can't remember who said it. It was Kevin. It was Kevin in the mental health, the men's therapy group. Kevin said it when somebody brought up mistakes and making mistakes, and Kevin was just like, well, what if, we make a mistake, but we don't consider it a mistake, or we don't know it's a mistake until after we've made it, or, we learn our lesson later. I feel like Papa just needs to just be with Kenya, maybe, and see how it goes. And if he doesn't feel like it's the best decision, then because I was like, you were so deep involved, she was your girl, and then now it's just like crickets. And now it's like she's not your girl no more. So it doesn't make sense to me. I think you should just maybe get involved with her for a little bit, and then if they just mutually come to understand like this is not what either of us want, then but Kenya is respectful, and she's just like whatever. I feel like Papa will realize he'll want to be with her when it's too late, and I kind of feel for her because I understand when you're vulnerable, you completely open up, you trust a person. I'm like, for Pete's sake, she introduced her son to you. Like, that is a major deal for those, I'm assuming, that have kids. So, like, or anybody, I guess. Just being vulnerable, period. So, I don't know. Maybe Papa will come out of that rut that he is in. And I think he's just brushing off his, like, guilty conscience or just his feelings off on everybody, especially, and just he became more closed off for the sense that he went back and forth with his dad, like, to the point where Bakari was like, hey, yo, chill. Like, chill. And he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's just like, you can't go back, you know. But what happened, and you guys didn't get a chance to say sorry. Or, I mean, well, he didn't get a chance to apologize, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Alright, so we then have Tiff and Rob. They are still a part of the weed business. Rob feels like it's taking too long. Tiff is really excited, which is really awesome to see, you know, them really sticking to what they really want to do, which is be independent of Douda and, you know, have a fresh start and make their own money, be their own bosses. Rob basically explains to Tiff that there's more to the story that he just left out, in a sense. And basically that is the fact that the money came with some stipulations. Alright, so Alicia is way worse than Douda. And basically that's what Rob tells, you know, Tiff. Like, you think Douda is, like, horrible? Well, my mom is no saint either. You know, she's way worse than Douda. And, yeah, this is what happens when we want to be independent and be our own boss, alright? Like, we took the money, we basically spent all of the money, and now I have to hold up on my end of the agreement. And so Tiff is like, wait a dang minute, like, wait a minute, excuse me. And so she just realizing, like, dang it, we may be way over our heads. We should have, like, talked about this a little more, but it's too late. It's too late for everybody at this point. So, yeah. Then we move into, you know, Tiara and Marcus. They are at The Rock, and they are very much happy and, you know, just doing pretty good, which is super cute. Good for them. And we also have Boo Boo the Fool, freaking Rashad, who gets on my nerve. I was rooting for him at one point, much like other people on the show. And the patience is wearing super thin. So my biggest thing is, as being Boo Boo the Fool, why would you send Tiara a text message, let alone a text message when she's kissing, canoodling right in front of you with Marcus, who is her boyfriend, not you? And suppose her phone went off and Marcus looked down and sees it's from you. If you texted her, which you didn't, you texted Deja. Like, jeez. Rashad texts Deja the message he meant to text Tiara, and I was just like, won't he do it? Well, like, won't he do it? Like, shucks, Rashad, you done messed up the best thing that was possibly for you. And everybody told you. Darnell told you. Master Marshawn told you. Like, Victor done told you. Like, it is just like, okay. So yeah, Boo Boo the Fool messaged Deja, and that was that. Didn't realize it till later, but, you know, packed your bags, scrub out the door, done for. Like, Deja was done for. Like, that was that. I don't know if I really saw them lasting that long either, because she seems like more on a different scale than him, and he seemed like he was just trying to keep up with her. And then it was a lot of my house, our house, my house, my house, my house, my house kind of vibe. And it's either back to Victor's, you go. And I don't know how that's going to work with Fatima and them wanting to start their family. And because, like, Fatima told Victor later in the episode, you know, you got a family right here that you need to be focused on and worried about. And I'm like, I'm getting Imani vibes all over again with this whole situation of, this is going to be a really big turning point, which I really jumped the gun in my storyline, but I'm telling this whole episode. But I feel like this will be a whole, like, turning point and a trial or a test for them, is whether Fatima can even put up with this, because we got Trig at the end of this episode that popped out. Okay, I'll explain that later on in the whole why I brought up Imani situation. But anyways, back to what the heck I was saying. So yeah, so after he just sent that text, we moved right on to where I was going anyways, which is Victor and Fatima. Actually, not even Victor and Fatima. Victor, really. And just the simple fact that Dumb and Dumber, I just got a nickname for almost everybody at this point. Dumb and Dumber come to Victor like, hey, we're taking out Douda. We doing it tonight. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. And Victor was like, just because you're tall, Rob does not make you a gangster. And Emmett, you are definitely not about that life. Jada provided you with any and everything that you could ever want. I feel like Regina Hall on I think it was either Scary Movie or Scary Movie 2. It had to be either one of those two, but I believe it was Scary Movie 2 if I'm not mistaken. They're just my favorite movies. When she was in the movie theater, she was like, out of my face, out of my face. Like, that's how I felt. Like, Victor should have been like, out of my face. Because what? Like, I'm more pissed off with Emmett, because I'm like, this is like third time's a charm. And if the other two times were not a revelation of you're not about this life and you keep bumbling your opportunity and you don't have that dog in you, out of my face, like, want to just mush him so bad. Because, like, Emmett, you tried it twice. What makes you think the third time? And Rob, I know you're passionate, but like Victor said, just because you're tall does not make you a gangster. Real talk. So, that, and just hearing the whole, do we need Pooh Shiesties? Like, Dumb and Dumber. Because the plan just sounded like it was not organized. I can't do dysfunction and I need organization. I need a flow chart. I need something, because this was not it. Like, I'm like, y'all hear yourself? Like, what made y'all think? I'm sorry. If I was Rob, I would have had somebody else, aka Victor, aka Trig, because his name is Trig for a reason, because he has a great trigger finger. Like, do we not remember previous seasons? Especially one episode in particular when Douda was talking to the guy that killed Reg, okay, and boom, Trig just basically unalived that guy, and Douda was jumping like, oh shoot, somebody trying to take me out, and Trig, aka Victor, walked up to him as clean and smooth as possible, like, and you thought I was still gonna let this man breathe, just walk the face of the earth? Oh no, ma'am. He was far back in the warehouse, okay, or I think it was the chop shop. I can't remember where they were, that specific scene, but he was way back, okay. Good aim, clean cut, right through the head. That's who Emmett and Rob should have went to, like, initially. Even though I get it's a conflict there because he's trying to be Victor and turn a new leaf on a new page. But still, I'm like, y'all need to listen to him because he's really about it. 63rd Street Mob, really about it. Trig, was not AKA Trig for a reason. Like, he's Trig for a reason. He got that name for a reason. Ask about him. Sorry, my notes. It's just like, if I was Rob, like I was going with this initially, I would have just lied. I don't even think Alicia would have cared who did it. I mean, if I was Rob, I would say I got it done, because it's not like there's any cameras about anybody that would have came back and be like, it was actually Victor, it wasn't Rob that took him out. I don't care. I would have lied to my mom and been like, yep, mom. And did you do it? Yep, I did. Because that's all she cares about, is if Douda is gone or not. She don't care about nothing else. She even told him to get help. So he didn't even have to be the one to take the shot, I don't think. You know, as long as he had a plan and somebody to be with him, because she was like, I really don't think, you know, you're really up for it. But I don't care. Get you some friends, somebody else that can do it. And out of my face. And listen, until it's done, enough is said, you know. So I'm sorry, I'm pissed. Because like and the fact that Emmett even called Douda, I'm like, you made yourself even more obvious, because he's expecting you to come. So if nothing happens that entire night, he could automatically think, all right, like, okay, Emmett called me, but I didn't see him at all that night. But somebody mysteriously pulled up, and like Douda told Nuck and Zay, anybody could be out for us. Even Nuck told Keisha that when they met up that night, even though nothing transpired between them. Anybody could be out to get them. So it's just like, if you put two and two together, I mean, come on now. Emmett also pissed me off because earlier in the day, because now, you know, like, obviously it was nighttime at that point. Earlier in the day, he had a conversation with both his parents, Darnell and Jada, and, you know, explaining to them, like, hey, I know it's a lot of money, but I appreciate it. And Darnell is just pissed. You know, Jada's trying to be, you know, motherly and, you know, whatever you need, da da da. Darnell is like, look, are you dumb? Like, are you dumber than rocks at this point? Like, you put your family in danger. Basically, you put us in danger. You know, you have kids, a house, you know, a family to feed. You know, like, people dependent on you. Are you dumb? Like, you're supposed to be the protector. Like, what are you doing? And Emmett goes off, like, I'm being a father, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And basically, Darnell did tell him the truth. And even Emmett said it in the men's group, that he was just trying to be the big man. Even Darnell said, you just wanted to stunt and flex on everybody and act like you got it like that. And look where it got you. Your common sense is so far gone. You were so far up Douda's behind. You know, a brown nose. You're like, yeah, dude, I got me looking fly. I bought Tiff a car. I got a house. I got this. I'm banking money. I got business in New York. You know, Smokies is flourishing. I'm looking like the big man on campus. And I'm like, nah, you and freaking Rashad and dang on Rob look like all three of y'all look like Boo Boo the Food. All over y'all face. Like, And, you know, Darnell at that point was getting pissed off and was like, I'll handle it. You could see all the emotion come out of Emmett, but I'm like, Emmett, that's really what you needed. Like, you try to play the trump card on Darnell of, like, him not being there for you. But at the end of the day, you also needed somebody to tell you the truth. Because even Tiff sat down with Emmett and, you know, came to him because she was like, look, Robin told me some stuff. I can't get into it, but, you know, basically we need your help. We need protection. And word on the street is that you're out here getting played left and right, so I won't even be the one to talk. Just see what you can do. Meet up with Rob. Figure something out because we need it. You know, can't go too much in detail, but that's that. And even Tip was telling the truth. Like, people are talking about you. Like, you getting played left and right. Like Darnell said, you look dumb. You try to be big man on campus. You're not about it. It backfired. Let me handle it. And of course, Darnell goes to Douda, pays Douda, not really, because I'm like, dang it, Darnell, I thought you was from the street. I thought we did not let that earpiece fool Douda. Like, dang it. Like, I had high hopes. I was like, once he was like, don't let that earpiece fool you, in episode, I think 2 it was. I was like, okay, okay, all right, all right now I'm pissed. 'Cause I'm like, I see where freaking Emma get it from. Like, I was so like, especially the way Jada looked. I'm like, Jada, you know something that we don't know, like, darn really about it. But the fact that dude, I was like, I don't want your money. I don't, tipple and dabble, go back and forth about this. Just make sure, my name is, it rings bells. It, make me sound like I'm the best thing walking. Rose petals, nice, like coming to America style. Like, here comes Doodah, like that kind of, make me sound like I'm all that in a bag of chips kind of treatment. And then some, alright? I'm like, damn, he just punked you too. Like, I was so pissed. I'm like, I don't know how y'all keep falling for it, but it's pissing me off. Enough about them. Just enough about them, because I'm pissed. I like to talk about the young men, alright, because they're not even little boys anymore. We basically watched them for 6 years, as they said they were filming this. 6 years on the show, grow up. It's so emotional. It's like watching a little cousin, a little brother. Jake, Papa, Kevin are all just hanging together. And, they're just talking it up. Papa, I think he said he's going to go, like, Bible school or something, take over the pulpit. He basically, he has to step up, take his father's place. Jake said he's going to continue to, business is booming, let it flourish kind of thing. And Kevin is about to be off. And, him and Kevin chop it up. Kevin was just like, I need somebody to take over my lease. Jake, you can have the place. Jake was super excited, and I love that for them. I love that their friendship is, tighter than ever, because it was a little shaky, thanks to Gemma. We'll get to her eventually, and Jake, too. We got to hold Jake accountable. I think we've been holding Jake accountable, but it was a little shaky a few episodes back, but it's good to see that they're all still, close and all that good stuff. It's going to be really different to not see Kevin anymore. But it just makes me so sad now I think about it. It's just like, dang. They're chopping it up. And then, of course, what does Kevin say he wants to do? Take one last ride on the bikes, of course. And then you get all these, like, episodes from season 1 and all the way up until now of them just laughing, having a good time, and it's so sad because it's like, aww, we really watched them grow up. They were so little, and then look at them now. It's just so beautiful to see. Eventually, later on that evening, we also got to see Myaja and Kevin together on the air mattress, because earlier that day, one of the movers came and took the furniture and pretty much everything. So we got to see Kevin and Myaja on the air mattress, and it was super duper nostalgic because the bike was behind the air mattress. And if anybody remembers, I don't even know what season it was. I'm gonna say season 2, maybe. I don't know if anybody remembers Myaja stole Kevin's bike, I think, when they was at the store, and him, Papa, and Jake would get into it like, man, I told you not to leave that bike. And then they see Myaja, but she has her headphones on, so she can't even hear them, and she's just like riding the bike she's going back home, and they was like, Kevin was chasing after her. It was such a cute little episode, and then that's when he realizes, like, where she stays and why she took the bike, and, I think he let her borrow it for a little bit, but it was just like, oh my gosh, like, the bike in the back, like, they're not kids anymore. And that's the same thing him and Keisha were talking about when they had their bonding moment, that, like, she always liked Myaja for him. Because I remember Myaja liked him more, and I think he liked her cousin. I can't remember her cousin's name at the time, but he ended up liking her cousin, and then they ended up somehow getting together. So... And it was so adorable to see Kevin and Keisha's bonding moment. I love them, even though they're not siblings in real life. It was just nice to see their bonding moment, especially over the seasons, with so much that they have been through as characters and stuff. It's just been a crazy ride, and it was just nice to be right there along with them for the ride. And just hear the sisterly advice that Keisha gave Kevin, and just seeing them run, because I remember the episode he was trying to keep up with her. That was after she returned home from being kidnapped, and she wasn't really comfortable with running by herself. So seeing Kevin like, Keisha, slow down, I'm trying to keep up. And, you know, they had that bonding when she had that panic attack by the bus stop. And then just seeing them, like, joking and just so much that they've overcome. And then, you know, him keeping up with her, it was adorable. I almost wanted to cry. Like, it was a lot of moments I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I thought last week's episode made me emotional. This one made me a bit emotional as well. We have a little sidebar. Alicia, you know, is at Doodah's bar, and I believe that there's cameras on the wall. So I feel like eventually Doodah might check those cameras and see what's going on. And I think that's also how he knew about Doodah and Nuck and Keisha meeting up. Because I always, when Darnell went, I saw like 2 cameras on the wall. So I feel like he will also be able to see like maybe Bianca talking to Alicia, and also Alicia and Zay talking. So I think he will kind of be like 2 steps ahead in knowing something's going on, or maybe he won't. I don't know. But yeah, Alicia tries to get Zay to come to her side, and, you know, he's all dressed up and all that stuff, and, you know, he looks like he's potentially thinking about it, because Doodah is very much still, like, Nuck is loyal, he's my day one since A1 day one, you know, he's still got the number 1 spot, and Zay pretty much wants that spot. So I feel like if Alicia can feed him anything, any lies, or any fairy tale story you could think of, I really do feel like he will switch sides. So I think Doodah may, by the very end of it, lose freaking Prack, like Emmett called them. I think Nuck may get tired of Doodah eventually. Maybe, who knows. And Zay may very well switch sides and go with Alicia. Sorry, I'm not doing that face to the audience, to my followers, or just anybody watching. I'm doing that face because Gemma. I have to get into Gemma as well, because she's very much part of this episode. I laugh because, you know, Jake's home, he goes back, you know, he's chilling, hanging up his stuff, feeling really good about himself, and I love Jake's growth, okay? Let me tell you, Jake has really matured, since season 1, okay, with, you know, being in Reg's care and 63rd Street Mob, and having this I don't care about school attitude. He graduated, alright? He graduated, like, that was dope. Now he started his own business. Like, it's the difference between when he was in Reg's care and now in Victor's, and Doodah, and then Victor's care. Like, it's just a mature, grown Jake, even though he's like 18. So not really grown, but you know, because he seems like more mature this season. Like his the advice he gave Papa, you know, his focus, awesome. So basically, he's all excited. He tells Gemma, like, yeah, Kevin just gave me, you know, his lease. I'm gonna get his apartment. Gemma, oh babe, I was like, sorry, there was this Dave Chappelle episode, I think, and he was like, you speaking French? Like, who? Like, what? Like, I love the Chappelle show, but, another sidebar, but yeah, I was like, I felt like Rilo, like, who this for? Like, Jake, Jake, and I think pretty much everybody else was like, who this for? Like, what? We who? So I know Jake said me, you know, I have a place, not we. So I was like, Gemma I feel like her love is very conditional. Because she was all excited, like, yeah, babe, until Jake was like, oh, it's a bachelor pad. Like, we're not married. We're still very much young. Yeah, we date, but I don't need to be living with you. She withdrew everything. Like, no sex. F you. You're not. No. Like, that was how she was coming. And I was like, well, dang, Gemma. Like, very much conditional. Like, if she can't get nothing out of it, she don't want it. And Jake was just like, I have love for you. And she just basically tried to manipulate and gaslight the situation too, because she was all like, are you calling me crazy? And Jake was like, I didn't call you crazy. I said what you said was crazy. Like, again, who just spoiled? Like, check the attitude, sweets. Check the attitude, girl. So she gives me very much, like I said, a conditional kind of love. Like, she loves you only if this, and this, you know. And I feel really sad for her a little bit because she has no identity. Like with Kevin, she was more of like the Afro, like standing for our rights and fight the power and, you know, all of that. You know, women empowerment, you know, just all sorts of stuff. With Jake, now she's trying to be Tierra 1.5 or 2.0. I call her 1.5 because she's not really quite there yet. But she's trying to be like Tierra 1.5. And I'm just like, girl, like, I don't even think she has her own identity or knows who she really is. Like, it's just. And thankfully, Jake has matured because he knows how to handle her and tell her exactly what she needs to hear. Give her accountability and tell her the truth. Because, you know, Jake is in the studio with Brittany, who she seems more like, oh, yeah, I'm all for Brittany. And last Myasia, like, we're not even seeing much of a good interaction with her and Myasia. It's always more of a, like, argument. And with her and Brittany, it was vibes. And, of course, it led up to them kissing. And then Gemma just trying to pull back. Blah, 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 blah. And then Brittany being like, you know, you're a man. It's not doing nothing for you. Da 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 da. And overall, here goes Gemma. I want my own place. I just want to, you know, I want this and that and that and this. Brittany's like, I can make it happen. Cash apps her $10,000. I'm like, reel it back in, Brittany, because now we're here. Sweets, where'd you get the 10 bands? Because when we met you and you were sitting on Papa's, you know, stoop, the steps, you were asking Bakari for a place to stay. You were looking for a place to stay. You wanted to crash wherever he was crashing, and even Bakari was like, what are you doing here, and how did you come into some money, or like what's up? You're up to something. Where did the $10,000 come from? But I'm trying to still figure out, and hopefully we do tap into it, because I need to know Brittany's backstory with that going on with Brittany, because I'm like, Brittany, where did the 10 bands? 10 bands, 50 bands, 100 bands. I'm not gonna quote Drake anymore, but I'm like, where did the 10 bands come from? Because last time I checked, we were still looking for a place to stay, which we didn't hear nothing about that. I don't trust it. I feel like when Marcus is like, how did you get it? I need to see the place, all this stuff, because Gemma does sit down with Marcus and Tierra. Which Tierra, I get it to an extent, but you're not her mother. So whatever you say, Marcus is definitely going to be checking you. Like, please don't overstep your boundaries. And I think he was trying to tell her that, but only to like a polite way. And I feel like Tierra, because she's like, has such an influence now on Gemma, and Gemma's Tierra 1.5, they kind of run Marcus. Like, they don't even be listening to Marcus. They be like, Gemma would just look at Tierra like, Daddy, So anyways, Tierra girl, like, it's whatever Tierra says, and then, you know, she just hopes that Tierra will bat her eyes and Marcus will go along with it, even though Marcus has a thin line of like, okay, wait a minute, I'm still a parent, I'm still Gemma's dad, I don't want to steer her in the wrong direction, even though I told her it was either college or music, but I didn't expect it to go this way. So I don't blame him for that, because all these other parents on this dang show need to be involved in telling their kids, because Emmett, Rob, I don't know who's next, but yeah. Same way Pastor Stanley tried to tell Papa, but anyways, yeah, I'm still a little iffy on Brittany. We do get to the party that they're throwing for Kevin. It's really beautiful. It's really nice. Kevin gives a speech. It's again just finding out that he won't be on the shot anymore. It's just really super sad, and I love the send off. It was beautiful. I'm happy it wasn't like other shows where they just off the main character or it just leaves on a cliffhanger. This was beautifully and well written. I love that. I love that for him, and I love that for the show because it's what we needed. And it was sad because I'm like, dang, Ronnie, Coogie, because that really started our introduction to Brandon and a whole other thing, and then Emmett. It's just like, and Kevin. It's just like, oh my gosh. I don't know. We do get into Bakari. He is really going through the motions, and I think that explains where he went after the funeral, because everybody was like, where did Bakari go? You know, when they were burying my Baltimore accent almost came out, burying Pastor Stanley. You know, he was crying and emotional when he walked off. Bakari has been drinking a lot, and eating, and just wasting it away on the couch. And, you know, Papa, being a good friend and like a brother, kind of basically went and got Lene. And, you know, Lene tells him, like, you need to get some fresh air, you need to get up, you need to walk, you need to journal. And I thought that was so, like, I feel like this episode was just brought back a lot of different memories, because I remember when Bakari and Lene actually had our first sit down, and they were just kind of talking about, like, her brother, and then her knowing basically, like, Bakari killed Ronnie, and, you know, him just telling her about, you know, his life, and she was just like, why don't you journal? Because I think he said he wanted to write a book, and she's like, why don't you journal and do this and that? So seeing that come full circle and her telling him again, like, I remember you're passionate about this, do that, write that, like, basically start your book. You have so much to write about, sweetheart, so do it, you know. Even though he was just like, why are you so, like, basically, why are you so happy for, like, I don't want to hear that, get out of here. Eventually in the episode, like I said, we see Coogie, and it's super duper exciting. It's beautiful, it's awesome, it's freaking amazing. Even though people were joking, like, oh, he aged because of his beard and all that stuff. Coogie basically tells Bakari, you don't have to avenge my dad. I would rather you live your life and stay alive. Like, this ain't what you want. Like, live, just live. Like, I want you to be happy. And, you know, Bakari, he's so out of it. He's like, huh? Coogie? Like, what the heck? But it's beautiful, and it makes you realize a lot. Like, this was really a full circle moment. A lot of the episodes were just kind of full circle, but especially this, not episodes, moments were a lot of full circle moments, especially this, because you have Ronnie killing Coogie, I think, episode 1, or maybe 2. I think he was around for a few episodes. Not even that, like, shucks. I think his funeral's by episode 3. But we have Ronnie taking out Coogie, which Kevin witnessed. And we got introduced to, you know, Emmett and Keisha and this person and that person and Brandon, you know. And then we have, in retaliation for that, Bakari taking out Ronnie. And we obviously get introduced to Bakari and this person and that person. And it's just like a full circle moment. And now Bakari is like, you don't have to. Don't let that be you, is basically what Coogie's saying. Like, don't let this be you. Live your life. Don't do it. You don't have to live this life. You can live a whole completely different life. Be able to tell my story, your story, and just, yeah, like, live long enough to be able to do that. I just thought it was so sentimental, because it was like, oh my gosh, because in the beginning when I first watched this show, I was like, dang, I really wish Coogie would have lived longer, but it's so crazy to see how, like, everything turned out, and how, like, Coogie wasn't able to live long, but we also got introduced to Jason's backstory a little bit via Tracy, and her backstory. We also, you know, got Ronnie's backstory, which was like a whirlwind, but him trying to do good. And, you know, it was like Bakari's on a thin line between, like, want to do good, but you also work for Duda and you're doing bad. You know, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. It was a full circle moment. That's just like it never ends. Like even if you think you're doing something, it's always gonna be a good and bad consequence to it. And yeah, it's like they were trying to escape their past a little bit, and it kind of came up to them. Especially Ronnie. It was just like it didn't matter how much good he did in the end, and how much we started to like, oh my gosh, feel for Ronnie. It was just like even in that. He was still taken out by Bakari. Bakari didn't forget. He was still like, up, gotcha. And, it sucks. So I wonder if that's also a sidebar going to happen with Nuck. Like, Nuck hasn't really done anything good, but he did take out Pastor Stanley. So I wonder if somebody's going to take him out for that, or maybe not. Duda hasn't done anything good either, so, But Bakari, like, we're starting to humanize him a bit more, because it was like, dang, Bakari, like, you was fighting, Rashad kind of helped you, and Victor let you stay with them for a little bit, but then you got kicked out, and then Pastor Stanley, and then now we're like, oh, Bakari, oh my gosh, like, you really going through it, baby boy, like, dang. Golly, man, like, shucks, Bakari's going through it, but then we'd be like, Bakari. Like, 1 minute we'd be like, oh, and the next minute we're just like, but no, I don't know, like I said, just full circle moment. Yeah. I think what was also crazy about this episode is that Trig basically came back out of Victor. Like, it was like, switch! Because he went off at Emmett. Moving on, he went off on Emmett at the hospital because the plan obviously backfired. It did not work. Rob, they should listen to Victor. Rob didn't land on one shot. Gun jammed or something. Emmett didn't have no gun. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, neither here nor there. I can't tell if Rob got. I think Rob got hit in the neck, if I'm not mistaken. I know he touched his neck, and it seemed like he was bleeding from there. I don't really know specifically where he got hit. I'm assuming it's the neck. But Rob ends up in the hospital. Tiff and Alicia meet, and she kind of goes off on Tiff. Basically because Tiff is just talking like, yeah, I know why Rob did this, da-da-da-da. And she's like, you don't know nothing. And she's really harsh. And I was like, well, dang, Alicia, we are getting a little feeling that she don't play. And she basically got Tiff kicked out of the room because Tiff is not married to... Excuse me. Tiff is not married to Rob, nor is she blood. Even though Tiff was like, yeah, I'm his wife. And she's like, no, you're not. Out, next, be gone. And the nurse was like, yeah, you do gotta leave. And then Alicia's going off on Rob while he's unconscious and basically telling him, wake up so I can whoop your tail because you telling our family business. Like, I'm just like, oh, I wish they never got involved with her, but neither here nor there. Long story short, Victor goes back home. Once that All Black came on, I was like, we got Trig back. Okay. Not that I was rooting for that to happen because I was, I love the character development, shall we say. Like, I like the little change of pace with him being on the good, it's still in him. Like, it's not on him, it's in him, okay? We know it can come out at any time, but, like, him being Victor, of course, councilman, and just, like, a good, mayor, whatever, suit and tie. And being Trig, he was looking at Fatima like, out of my way, but like, shoot, I'm gonna handle this a different way. Like, you know what? No, I get it. I'm gonna stay home. Did he stay home? No, he didn't. Because when that All Black came out and he went under that mattress, I was like, oh, you should have been the one all along. Like, once somebody came to you, well, no, that would have been a little bit more suspicious if, FBI just came to him and was like, we got, suspicions or a picture of you with Douda, and then they off Douda right away. Yeah, never mind. Disregard that. But basically he gets dressed in all black. And this is what I said earlier about it being another Imani situation, because I wonder if Fatima will be able to handle this. And if this messes up the image of Victor that she has in mind. Like, she hasn't really been able to see that side of him as Trig, as Imani saw, and Imani was more ride or die. Like, like when they went into Nuck's house, and they were basically there to help. I think her name was Trinity or whatever, and they were looking for Keisha. They went in there full blown, like, no games. Fatima was more like, babe, like, hold on, breathe, count to 3, take a deep breath, pause, like, what are you doing? And he's like, I gotta go. But she knew what kind of timing he was on, but she's not for it. She's not like Amani in that sense, like, all right, you going, I'm going too. It's just like, no, you have an image. You are a mayor. You have people to live for. You got a family here. Are you dumb? Basically, like, what are you doing? And so I wonder how that's going to really turn out, and I wonder how that's going to have an effect in their relationship, because Imani really wasn't for it either after a while. Like, that's why she left him, essentially, because he beat up Bakari. And so, yeah, she just wasn't for it. She wanted him to change his ways, and that was not it. Fatima was definitely not for it, so with him lying to her and, like, leaving at night, even though our end scene is basically with Kevin and it's daylight, I want to kind of pick up what the heck happened the rest of that night with that. Did he finish the job, or did he just chicken out and sit in his car and not go anywhere, Or maybe freaking Rashad caught him, like, look, man, I need a place to stay. Can you pick me up? Can you give me a ride? And he maybe picked up Rashad and went back home. That would be a good alibi, actually. But, that was, yeah, just me thinking of how the rest of the season may go. Yeah, like, it's so much going on, so much happening. This was a really long video, and I didn't expect it to be this long. I think I got excited. Maybe I did, because it's really nostalgic, in a sense. If anybody can answer this, if anybody will comment, I don't know, that would be really nice. I'm really curious as to what happened to the guy, which he probably is no longer living, I don't know, that was over. I might have to go back and rewatch. I think he was either over Duda or over Uncle Q. And I'm going to say he was over Duda, because I think Duda was the one that visited him in prison. I wonder, is he still living? Is he still the head honcho? That's what I'm curious about, because I get what they're saying, like, oh, Alicia's still big and bad, but I thought he was, like, nothing to play with either, when we first were introduced to him for that brief period of time. Because I felt like that's where Duda was taking the orders from, or he was out, like, giving orders from the inside to the out. But, like, I'm kind of curious. But I'm also curious to see what Alicia is all about too. That little snippet with her and Tiff, I was like, well, go. Man, I never deal with that one, because, like, jeez. Whew. Same thing. Nina was trying to tell Keisha early in the season about being a wife versus a girlfriend. Alicia just summed that up for Tiff really, really very clearly. Very blunt. But yeah, that is pretty much. I don't think I left anything out. I'm looking back over my notes as I want to wrap up my video. Overall, my thoughts is, especially with Tiff and Rob, and Emmett and Keisha, and just like a lot of them, it just seems like you have a lot of young people making some really grown decisions and rushing a lot of things, and the adults are really just like, what are y'all doing? Like, this is not the way to go about it. Don't rush this. Like, do this, don't do this. And they're having to step in and really help them, and like basically show them, like, y'all think you guys are grown, but you're really not. Like, you still need us, essentially. Like, this is not the way to go. So, yeah. Because it seemed like a lot of them were like, I just want to do it on my own. I got this. Or, same way with Gemma and Marcus. Keisha and Nina. Of course, I don't know if we'll see Kevin in LA or how that's going to transpire. Because, with the rest of the season, if that was just really his last episode, but we won't, Nina was concerned about Kevin, as you know. Tiff and Rob's conversation, like, we wanted to start our own business, but we probably rushed it. Like, I think they're realizing, like, a lot of the decisions they need their parents for, and it's just not going the way they expected it to. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, especially this mid-season finale. I think it's probably long for me, especially because we don't even know when the rest of the other 8 episodes are coming. So I just wanted to really get all my feelings and emotions out in this video and just, yeah. So again, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely continue to tune in. I do appreciate each and every one of you for watching the video. I hope I wasn't talking too fast or anything. I do appreciate, like, you guys for just tuning in. That means a lot to me. I hope you all are having an awesome week so far. And shoot, we are rocking and rolling right through this year. I say it every day, every time I make a video. We are just rolling. Alright, so I just hope you guys are having an awesome week. We are about to say see you later to September and hello to October. And yeah, it's my favorite time of year. The heat was too much, okay? It has nothing to do with the Shy at the moment, but the heat was too much for me. The summer was just like, oh my gosh, it's so freaking hot. I love fall. I'm excited. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm about to go watch Force because I need to catch up. So I'm about to go watch that. I won't be reviewing it, but I'm going to be watching it on my own. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, have a great week. Bye, guys.